Alright, time to get Stompy. And gonna snap keep this one. 2 lands is about exactly as many as you want to draw in a game, and there's 2 Rancors in it. How can it ever lose? I guess with the 2 lands, this Quirion Ranger is no longer particularly needed. Oh, it's the mirror match. So Vault Scourge is massive in a mirror match because if they have Rancors, they could just scourge us right out of the game. So I think what I'm going to do is just play as many creatures as I can and then start rancoring them up the following turn. The last thing we want to happen is a Hunger of the Howl pack happening and allowing the opponent to make this into like a life-thinking 4/4 because that's a disaster. I'm just going to go ahead and yield to these Nettle Sentinels, I'm thinking. So the question is like, what happens if the opponent, say, plays a Young Wolf and just passes with a green open? Because honestly, that's pretty terrifying. 2 Pit Skulls, that's fine by me, I think. Now, obviously, could also become an attrition matchup, which I'm going to lose because I've drawn 3 forests, which is basically the worst draw in the deck after you have, 2 lands in play. But I certainly can't. Oops, certainly can't stop attacking with all of my cards, since I don't really have any tools to set up like a favorable gang block or anything. I mean, I do possibly have Rancor advantage, which is always quite nice. So, assuming I have 1 creature alive most times, I can always, get stuck in. That's an interesting block. So I'm trying to think, what's our best draw here? Something like a Vines of the Vastwood, because Vines of the Vastwood is an unusual card because it says the creature can't be the target of spells your opponents control, which means you can put it on your, you can target your opponent's Vault Scourge in response to like a Hunger of the Howl pack, or their own Euro Giant Pump spell to counter the pump spell, which is nice. And also, I can just give one of my own creatures +4. So with these young wolves, I definitely don't want to spread around my rancors at the moment, since I need to get as much damage in as possible. It's going to be pretty difficult with this 4th land. I can only hope that they also just have lands, but if they have a Hunger of the Hull pack, I can't ever beat it with the tools we have available. So it's hard to say exactly what I should be doing. Like, it's possible that I should be just putting 2 Rancors on Quirion Ranger, attacking, it trades, and then I put 2 Rancors on, say, Nettle Sentinel, and then attack with that next turn. But I'm not sure that's going to be fast enough, considering if they felt like it, they could like block with 2 Young Wolves and then have 3 2-power guys plus a Vault Scourge. I think that's probably the best option we have though, since we need to press the one advantage that we do have is the extra Rancors. Let's say we're just conceding to Hunger of the Howl pack more or less, since we can't beat it with the cards we have, and not attacking and not blocking is also not particularly a sound strategy, I think. I guess since I have so much mana, I'm gonna just... I'm gonna conceal this forest I have in my hand, and at least pretend that I might have a Finds of my own to counter their Hunger. Well, they didn't have it, so hopefully the situation is that they just have lands just like I do. And maybe I can draw some big pump spell. Well, they've made their 4th land. River Boa. Now, that River Boa is pretty annoying, but, you know, with all the trampling we've got going on, it might be alright. That's a pretty interesting one. The evasion ability on Pit Skulk here, in combination with Rancors, might get us there. Yeah, that makes sense. Because if they were to block with just River Boa, for example, I would be trampling over for 5, leaving them dead to a Vines. So they're trying to just soak up some damage so that they're not just dead to 1 card. So it seems like they've got nothing. And we did manage to deal them a whole damage, which means my Bloodthirst will be active. And again, concealing this leftover forest. So without a pump spell, they can't block this. And if I draw a pump spell, they're probably dead. Another good reason, incidentally, to hold this is because Groundswell has landfall. So even though I have Quirion Ranger, if they happen to have a main deck removal spell for the Quirion Ranger, it's good to have a land available for Groundswell. Now I didn't draw it that turn, so I'm just gonna have to attack for 6. Poor me. Then play this Nest Invader, which should be fairly good in this situation. Even if they are saving up pump spells, I should be fairly safe to not die. And yes, they had even more lands than I did. I mean, the 7 lands is actually a dreadful flood for the opponent there. So here I want Elephant Guides, and I want, I think I want Epic Confrontations. It's actually slightly unclear. I think I do because it's so good to kill Quirion Rangers if they do have a small amount of lands. And I probably want some number of Tangle. But this is actually like a ton of cards to bring in. So what I'm bringing out is open suggestion. So Rancors are still great. obviously. The mutagenic growth, I actually don't rate mutagenic growth too much in this matchup, even though it's, you know, occasionally like a blowout if they're not expecting it, but it's like a little bit on the small side when it comes to like the pump effects. Like I sort of would prefer like permanent pump effects, like the Howl Pack or Elephant Guide or Rancor. I think it's possible that these are like the weakest cards. I also think Ledgewalkers might not be required, like this type of evasion. Young Wolves could get cut as well, or trimmed down at least, since they're like fine at blocking a reasonable amount, but maybe their main usefulness of being resilient against removal spells doesn't really matter too much. So if I take out some of these, now it's possible that you could bring in like a Gleeful Sabotage for enemy Elephant Guides and Vault Scourges. I actually kind of like doing that since Vault Scourge is such a massive card, but since there's only 3 of them in their whole deck and probably boarding up to like 5, I don't want to board in a lot. I think 1 is fine unless I see evidence of like Bone Splitters as well. Bone Splitter doesn't always turn up, but it's usually quite good when it does. Okay, this one. It's also possible I could have boarded in Scattershot Archer instead of something like Nettle Sentinel, which seems pretty sketchy, but on the other hand, if you know Vault Scourge is this important, maybe that's a slightly better Miser card to board in. But with the presence of Elephant Guides in most sideboards, I like the Disenchant, even if it's a little bit ambitious. I think I'll be keeping this one. Alright. So I suppose against specifically Epic Confrontation in like this sort of occasion, you want mutagenic growths. You know, if they just tapped out to try and kill my Quirion Ranger, I could respond with mutagenic growth and blow them out. So maybe that's something I should put more of a weight towards. Garruk's Companion. This one's a pretty good one all around. Just a nice solid body. Oops, not Tangle. I think I want to try and kill their Quirion Ranger since it's very effective at controlling combat. And if they're, you know, stuck on 2 lands, then it's pretty effective. You know, they would be able to just attack with this and then keep it back for blocks as well, forcing me to use pump spells and that sort of thing. Yeah, possibly I overestimated how good these are. I mean, they might not be good at all. That is a true fact. I think I need to play at least one of these Pit Skulks, even though as a 1/1 it's pretty embarrassing. So you have 2 cards. I think I would like them to attack with everything, and then I can tangle and then try and get on the board a bit more. So it's a good idea for me to double block here, because if they try and do a pump spell, then I just get an extra card out of the deal when I cast Tangle. Well, they didn't cast anything, so you know you've got to give it a try, right? So this, fogs for the turn, prevents the attack from these creatures next turn. Hopefully they don't have another creature. And then I can get a bit of damage in, play my other Pit Skulk. Given that I have multiple vines, I think I want to cast one of them. I mean, they obviously can have tangles as well, but given that vines is fairly expensive, I, want to start playing cards out of my hand. Well, fourth land, not ideal. Think I'll just attack in with everything. Then I will. Since I have a lot of mana, maybe I don't necessarily need this Korean Ranger anymore. So I can offer it as a trade with the Young Wolf in order to use my Hunger of the Howl packs and make these hard to block. There's no particular reason for me to float mana, just good practice. And given that we have a fourth land in hand, we are able to draw like a second vine, an additional Vines to the Vastwood to like cast double Vines next turn. It's an interesting block by them. They're obviously aware that this might happen to them, and also that Tangle exists. I don't particularly want to trade mines for theirs. Another Tangle is interesting. But they're obviously playing a bit around it now, so I think we'll just hold on to that one. Now I could try and like vines up this Pit Skulk and attack, but then if they just have their own vines, it doesn't work out quite so well. So I'll just sit on my hand for a while. Given that I have this 1/1 Pit Skulk that I can still Hunger the Howl pack on, I'll see what happens if I try and trade here. Now they obviously might have their own hungers, but they do also have a lot more power in play. Yep. So they could have regular fog, which would be quite a beating. I think what I'll do here is wait some more. Like I could like pump this and attack, then put them to 2, but then I can't necessarily kill them. If I'd drawn like a pump spell, like a Rancor or something there, would have been good enough. But I don't think that's a good idea, because then all they need to do is just not attack some more, and I can't get through without drawing another Vines. So I'll just take this damage here. Well, there is a land. So I'll lead with Groundswell. They're responding with Vines on my creature. And I will respond with my own Vines. So it's just like playing Infect. There's just Vines everywhere. Well, that's unfortunate. I'll say failed to get in there. And I think means we're dead now. Unless they attack with both creatures, which I somehow doubt they will. So they're obviously going for the kill, which I'll be forced to tangle. So, given the situation here, I can draw... Ooh, what now? What does this do? So I can play this, but I still don't think I can muster enough damage together to actually defeat my opponent in this game. Well, I certainly can't win if I block with anything, so if they just have a pump spell, then I'm dead. This is not enough damage, so I'll concede the game. Okie dokie. So no Vault Scourges were harmed in filming of this game. On the play, I think I'll board out a Tangle and go back in for Mutagenic Growth. See, the sort of sequence where, you know, I cast like Tangle and things, is sort of why I don't like Groundswell, for example, that much. But your Groundswell is fairly important for getting past Gigantic Hunger of the Howlpack creatures. Possibly, though, I want to bring in another Ledgewalker just for the evasion. I'm not totally sure, though. Probably just want Young Wolf since we're, you know, on the play and just need more creatures to be attacking with. This hand seems like a keep to me. This hand could be really good if I get to play this thing and then put Elephant Guide on it. So I'm not going to endanger my Quirion Ranger. Even though this is important, I think considering the makeup of my hand, this is more important than their Vault Scourge. I'll cast my She Ninjas now. On the board and ready to be incredibly dangerous if we draw... Well, we obviously didn't draw a second land that turn, so we can't Elephant Guide up this turn. But if they play like 2 creatures, for example, we can play Vines and, you know, assassinate something with the Shinen. So this makes me feel like they're probably going to try and cast Hunger of the Hull Pack. But I can too, and I also have Quirion Ranger. So I'm going to turn this into a 2/2 and see if I can get stuff going with my vines to counter their hunger. Which they can play around it if they try, I think. So I have options, so I can either hunger up the Shinen or I can play a Vault Scourge and then try and hunger that up. But I think I'm gonna put the hunger on the Shinen here, since that's going to be very difficult for them to beat, I think. They're playing Vines to prevent mines. So I will protect my thing from their Vines. So then now we just have, you know, a 4/5 that must be blocked by all creatures. So obviously if we don't draw another land, we might still lose the game. Especially since they can just have like another Vine and punch through here, but I'm not gonna tap out. I'm not gonna block this turn without any protection up for my creature. Rancor's not super, but on the other hand, if I play it on Shinen here, then even if they give their creature +4/+4, they still trade. I mean, it's not the best outcome ever, but I still get the Rancor back, and then I get to play Vault Scourge. Obviously, this requires them to have another Vines. But, you know, they did. That's fine. I thought they might do. And they're down to 2 cards. So if we just draw another land, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. Even without a land, we have a Rancor to put on the Vault Scourge. And we can even like cast Epic Confrontation. Obviously, Epic Confrontation's a little bit risky considering the pump spells, and we don't have any more pump spells ourselves. And they're out of cards. They have a lot of power in play, but they are out of cards. So it's a little bit unfortunate what's going on here. We do have certainly some options. I think I might want to get into a situation where I put hunger onto this Vault Scourge even at the expense of my Quirion Ranger. So what I'll do here is attack for 3 lifelink and untap and keep up Hunger of the Hull Pack and see what happens. The only problem is I don't really want to like chump block with Quirion Ranger. I think I can afford to take it this time. Since there are like there's too many, this card is just too important to what we've got going on, I think. especially since it gets to untap my Vault Scourge. Well, this actually seems like a pretty low impact use of this, but given that they have a 1/1 blocker, I'm gonna give +1/+1 to this, so I can just attack through. I will attack first, and then post-combat I think I'll play Epic Confrontation to gain a bunch more life. So I can make my creature into a 5/4. So I might as well kill off Garrick's Companion, since it's just their biggest card right now. And I will not return a land yet, anyway. Bone Splitter, but that's a good one. It's probably going on their Vault Scourge. So we can no longer, untap and ambush. We can, however, play Elephant Guide, which will then let us, do untapping of the Vault Scourge and block the other creatures with less fear. So this is a strange game. I don't expect I'll be blocking with Current Ranger, so I might as well get stuck in. And hopefully they don't draw something large. Mutagenic Growth? That doesn't seem that great, to be honest. I think if I were them, I would have kept this to try and ambush my creature. Since now I just get to untap and eat a Garrick's Companion or something for free. I mean, I don't see anything to punish me for this, unless I'm horribly mistaken. So I got to gain a bunch of life there. And yeah. Alright, sweet, won the match. This Vault Scourge was indeed incredibly important.